away we go. Welcome in, Warchant Game Day. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're well. Tom and I getting together for a little 1 hour before kickoff against Boston College. It's a pregame show, yes, a little less structured than some of the other pregame shows that we do for home games, obviously, but we want to give you something for these away games, and so it is. We sit down to talk about Florida State, Boston College. Tom, I think first and foremost, let's go with the particulars. We need to let everybody know who's in and who's out. For example, It's already been reported in several places, including here at Warchant, that Florida State's got some dudes that are out. No surprise that Akeem Dent will not play in this football game. Not that big a surprise that Robert Scott will not play in this football game. So that means Bless Harris, obviously. And then it's another bad day, I guess, for Maurice Smith, who's not going to start at center for Florida State. So you'll get Washington there in all likelihood. So 3 guys that are starters that are not going to play for Florida State today. From there, Tom, I think the most important thing would be to take a good long look at the weather, because I think that is the only thing that could stand in the way of a lopsided Florida State victory today is weather concerns. Tom, I know you did some work. Let's see it happen. There it is.
We are prepared. This is from Boston College itself, Chestnut Hill, the weather report right now, 63 degrees, and there are the winds, 13 miles an hour. Man, if it stays anywhere in the teens, that's exceptional news for Florida State. Mike Norvell did say in his hit on College Game Day, which was about, I don't know, an hour ago, maybe a little bit less, that Florida State's game plan will not be affected all that much by what he's seen. And the interview was conducted with Mike as he was roaming the field in Chestnut Hill. So looks like the game plan is going to be intact. They don't need to make any last-second changes because of some crazy kind of weather.
Yeah, by the way, a buddy of mine called me 5 minutes before we came on the air. He is at the game. I know lots of you guys out there are friends with folks that are at this game. Maybe you're up there watching us, and if you are, have fun, enjoy yourself. Not much of a tailgate there at BC, but nonetheless, see if you can have some fun, hopefully bring back a victory. I will say this. My buddy said not bad at all. In fact, it's beautiful. I'd give anything for 63 degrees with a slight breeze, which is what you're showing me with the PWS current conditions. If that's what we get, the game plan will not be affected in any way, shape, or form. And that is really, really bad news for Boston College because, Tom, in preparation for this here broadcast, I took your advice and I went back and I watched Boston College.
You did? Oh, man. Good for you.
I watched them against Northern Illinois, and then I watched them against Holy Cross. They're terrible. Tom, this is not going to be a game. If Florida State cares and is focused and does not have to combat 20 to 25 mile per hour winds, then this is a lopsided affair that you can get your starters off the field and with a quickness, because we all know what looms next weekend. So for Florida State, to me, take care of business, get your starters off the field, let the young kids play. Let the young kids, again, grow up a little bit, just like they did last Saturday in a lopsided win against Southern Miss.
Yeah, I think I might, by the end of today's show, like to revise the 28-0 pick I had. I don't know how, in decent weather conditions, Florida State stays underneath that 35-point watermark, short of stops in the red zone and having to kick 4 field goals. I just don't know how they are held below that number. Holy Cross offensive line was able to push back the Boston College defensive line. And as you talked about, in the open, when I see a headline from Pete Thamel from ESPN say that 3 starters are out, I do wonder what 3 they are. And then you click on the article and I go, oh, well, that makes a ton of sense. Same 2 offensive linemen as last week. And then Akeem Dent went down in a heap. And so that's not exactly stunning either. Kevin Noles was praised this week in practice by not only Adam Fuller, but, that was a press conference, but Mike Norvell in a practice press conference saying that he's now fully back up to speed, was dealing with something in fall camp that hindered his ability even through the first couple of games of the season. Full speed, Kevin Noles should be the starter. So again, when you see 3 starters, heart drops. When you click on the article and you see what 3 starters, this is what Florida State expected.
Do want them to get back healthy. They're going to be needed for Clemson. In particular, Maurice Smith is going to be needed for Clemson. I think you're fine without Robert Scott. That's not a knock on Robert Scott. Robert Scott's a good player when he's healthy. But Bless Harris is pretty much his equal. I'm not concerned about that. We do not have another center that is the caliber of Maurice Smith, at least not one that has been developed yet. So you take a step back there. That experience is really necessary. maybe not today against
Right.
Boston College, but you do worry about it next week. So we'll see. I would suggest, and I think you already know this, of course, but for our audience, Florida State is being ultra careful with all of their starters. This could be a thing where if pressed, guys could play, but there's no need for it in a contest like this. And I think that's true. And you can apply that to your starters today if you take care of business. It's a maturity game. We get into this a lot, Tom, when you have a difference in athlete to this degree. And Florida State's better at every position, guys. I mean, this isn't one of those years where Zay Flowers is out there for Boston College and you go, Zay Flowers would start for us. There've been years where you go and you watch Boston College and there's a linebacker or there's a defensive tackle, there's a defensive end, a running back, a quarterback, a wide receiver, somebody where you say, that kid would start for us. He's pretty good. He's going to go play NFL football. That's not what we're saying about this Boston College team this year, pal. I'm telling you, there's maybe an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman, maybe.
Yeah, I think what Boston College can do, and this is the thing, Ira Schoffel up there. He'll be joining us in about a half an hour's time from the press box. He wants to see Florida State go through warm-ups. There are no updates yet about the guys that are on the field for warm-ups as yet. But assuming that the entirety of the defensive interior is there, the only thing that Boston College does that would scare me, and this is how they set up everything, is they run up the middle. They've got a back who's large and can be a bruiser if you're out of your gap or you don't have the leverage and you get knocked over. It's gain of 4, gain of 5. It's 2nd and 5. And then now Boston College can do stuff and read option you to death. But with this, if this defensive line is there, present, accounted for, they care, the linebackers are where they need to be, they're going to be in 2nd and 8 a lot. And then they can't read option you to death and can't put you in conflict on 3rd down. And Castellanos, the quarterback, not so hot. So this is how it could avalanche on Boston College. The whole key to this game for them is can they run up the middle? Because we're going to score. But, the hard part when you play Florida State in 2013 is you can't just score once or twice and be in the game. You're going to have to go four times down the field, 5 times, 6 times. And that's just too tall of an order for Boston College.
Z Chan, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate your contribution and your listenership. As always, he goes, game day, baby, 52-7, another notch closer. Let's go. That's not a crazy prediction, Z-Chan. If I had known, I said 38-7, Florida State. If you're telling me we have 3-mile-per-hour winds currently at BC, 3, well, that's not a wind. That's just existing on the earth. Yes. So, buddy, that is this could get gruesome. I'm not kidding. Holy Cross was the equal to Boston College. Northern Illinois, who's not any good, who just lost to Southern Illinois. Right. Okay, so BC has had this kind of a problem.
That's a rivalry game, Northern Illinois, Southern Illinois. You got to throw the records out when those two match up on the gridiron.
It got beat, I think, 14-11. It's not good. Pick your number, everybody. If you got a bookie, bet him. I'm telling you, I like the over here. I like Florida State to win comfortably. I just really hope that they take it seriously. I want to go circle back to what I was getting to a moment ago. It's a maturity game because I talk a lot about when you watch film as a player, you can see your counterpart, the guy that you're going to be going up against. Yep. And you see the whole team, but really players look at who they're going to be matched up with, and they zero in on that. And they look for scheme and certain things like that. But when they're looking at a player, they're trying to get a read as to what he is, what he does well. Can he run with me? Is he bigger than me? Is he stronger than me? What does he do? Mm-hmm. And I just wonder when you're watching that film, if you're a Florida State player, if you're not thinking, well, goodness gracious, this is a glorified scrimmage. And if you take it that way, it can be one of those moments where the next thing you know, it's the middle of the second quarter. It's a 7-point game. I can't get my starters off the field. We're in unnecessary risk territory. The other team's beginning to believe, and now we got a problem on our hands. And yet you just button up, be good, do your job, get off the field.
Yeah, agreed. We have one update from the press box. This is down the depth chart kind of an update. I wouldn't take it and run with it as far as some people are because we are admonished by Florida State Sports Information. But is Brock Glenn available? He's not going through warm-ups. Our own Ira Schoffel reports from the press box that he appeared to suffer a hand injury last week against Southern Miss. And so there are 3 scholarship quarterbacks going through warm-ups, the 3 you would expect. Jordan Travis, Tate Rodemaker, AJ Duffy. No Brock Glenn in warmups.
I'm frustrated by this because it would appear, I think I know what happened. I've gone back and looked at it. It's just a freaky, unlucky thing. And if what I think happened,
Right.
once again, cannot confirm, not allowed to confirm. But
Sure. I'm sure Mike Norvell will be asked in the post game, "Hey, I saw 3 dudes go out through warmups. What's up with that?" We'll get an answer in 3 hours.
Yeah, and then we're able to talk about it openly. So I guess the point would be, it's frustrating because he would have played today. He would have got a chance to play today, I think.
Yeah. Agreed. FSU fan 1993, thank you very much. 55-12. All right. First donation of the 23 season. I think Johnny Wilson has a massive rebound game, and Trey Benson goes wild. Those two, what would you call them? Prognostications? They're not crazy. Neither of them are crazy, right?
Because guys, pick your score. If this weather is cleared up the way that it's looking like it is right now, I mean, come on. I do. By the way, Matt, I think Florida State is going to blow Boston College out. And Southern Miss is better than BC. Yes, that is correct. I think I'm not arguing with anybody here. I just hope that now I would like to find out, is the field wet? Do we know? Is it soaked? I mean, I would assume
it didn't rain that much this morning, from what I understand. And in this sense too, this is where field turf, I think, drains better. It has a better drainage system than, old school grass. If you've got season changing grass up in Boston and it rains 3 or 4 inches, then everybody's going to be slipping and sliding all over the place. So it didn't look terribly wet when Mike Norvell was taking his interview before the game. And it's not supposed to rain a ton. According to the experts, the weather people, if it was going to rain, it's going to go now through about 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then
second half is going to clear up. But now, if it's not raining now, I mean, I think you're really in good shape. So, Ooh, we're up to 4 miles per hour, everybody. I got to tell you, let that be the case for the day, and we're going to be all right. Yeah, no precipitation there either. So
1/10 of an inch. There you go.
We got what we wanted, which is a beautiful afternoon to play football. Frankly, a beautiful afternoon to play golf. My goodness gracious. 63, Tom, you and I would be on the links right about now. This is amazing.
No, I mean, you'd be going there expecting a 2-3 club wind all day, and then you're like, oh, I could just hit a stock, 8-iron here from whatever yardage I hit an 8-iron
and enjoy this 63-degree temperature is what I'm going to do.
Like there's Cameron, 215 out. I just need 8-iron, guys.
Yeah.
Up here. But what I was saying was, the FSU fan 1993's ideas about Johnny having a bounce back game or Trey going off, that's not crazy. Johnny has shown in his career that he can have the lowest of lows. And then today, would it shock you if he went 6 for $115 and 2 scores? Wouldn't shock me one bit. And if Trey has a humongous game, judging by how Holy Cross offensive line was able to push Boston College off the ball routinely enough, it wasn't every play, but enough, I would think if they want Trey Benson to go for big numbers, Trey Benson will go for big numbers today.
It's whatever the game plan is, and I never really know, obviously, until we see them line up. That's the beauty of this coaching staff. They've got something for everybody, and they give you a lot of different looks. They give you a lot of different personnel groupings. They give you I thought at the beginning of the day, Tom, when I woke up this morning, that it would be rainy and windy. And in that moment, I thought to myself, well, this will be neat. They'll go 3 tight ends. You could put 3 tight ends on the field, and Jaheim Bell could have a monster day as you let him leak out. I mean, I really started envisioning the fun they could have with the different sets if they had to go big and run the ball. But I'm not going to get my wish. It doesn't look like they could just run their standard offense.
No, but when you said 3 tight ends, the first thing my brain thought was not what most would think. It's Preston Daniel over 18.5 receiving yards.
No.
Go North. That's not a real number, but I'm setting it, and he's going over it. 1 catch for 37 yards. That's what they're going to do. Jumbo set coming off of their own end zone, and Preston's wide open up the seam.
Back to Johnny Wilson for a second, Tom. I think it's important to get him the ball right from the jump. I would get him the ball. You go back, people are talking about Deuce Spann in the chat, and Deuce is really coming on. That's exciting to see, and I'm pumped to see his development continue. But I think you go back to what Mike has always done with players that he's gotten mad at or did something wrong or screwed up in some way, whatever it might be. What does he do? Well, after chewing him out or after talking to him or whatever it is, he goes right back to him. He always goes right back to him. And I think it's a great trait. I think it's what you want to do. It's like, your kid screws up. You want to give him a second chance to get it right. It's the right thing to do. So I'm going to first guess this. It's not it's not all that revelatory. I think they go to Johnny Wilson pretty early and pretty often in this game. And I think it's a smart move. Get him a couple catches and everything simmers down, and then we go from there.
Well, he's open a lot already, but wouldn't you think he'd be more open today because Keon Coleman's tape is out there, and that would be the first guy you'd want to stop? So Johnny would get a bit more favorable of a matchup. Like, against LSU, given that there was a lack of tape of Keon Coleman in Tallahassee, maybe LSU would play them evenly in terms of the attention paid on the outsides. By now, and I think for the rest of the season, if you're going to double somebody on the perimeter, it's Keon. It's not Johnny. So he should be in favorable positions, even if he wasn't coming off of a bad game versus Keon. I think that's going to be the way moving forward. It's a pick your poison deal if you're a defensive coordinator against Florida State. But I think Keon Coleman's the first poison that you have to avoid, if at all possible.
Buddy, I think we can do anything we want in this game. I'm giddy to watch this football game because I think they can have a lot of fun. I hope that, how we joke about getting domed up because all options are on the table?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of sometimes worry about that. Nobody can get into a rhythm because you're kind of herky-jerky, unsure what you're doing because you don't have to select a path. You can just go anywhere you want. So you're like, oh, let's go over here. Let's go over here. Guys, we're meandering, and it's a weird deal. I mean, it's a weird thing to conjure because I really don't think that's going to be a problem. But, I guess something to look for if we're sitting there, a little stop-starty.
Well, I think that's twofold. My fear in the preseason was that there's only one football, and let's say there's a couple of 3 and outs because of a drop or a missed assignment or something, and you're trying to spread the ball around, and you haven't really established what you're about. It's the middle of the second quarter. It's like, okay, what are we doing today? Who are we? Like, that was my number one concern because of all the weapons, but I never really thought about it on the quarterback level, and that's something I'm going to be watching today because there are a lot of times in the first 2 games that you see favorable fronts to run against in an RPO, and Jordan's going to chuck the ball down the field. He decides to chuck the ball down the field or throw to the perimeter, and that comes down to the quarterback's decision. What is the defense giving you? What am I trying to take? And I do want to see how he balances that. Has he been working on things and testing limits, or is this potentially a habit that we need to watch very closely where Jordan is trying to, favor one side of the ball or one phase of the offense over the other? So we'll see that today, too. I would think there's going to be times where Boston College has 6 in the box. Does Jordan still throw it, or does he hand it off to Trey in that situation?
One of the interesting aspects of coaching decisions, game plans, and things that we look to, which players are featured, et cetera, we talk about a lot in these matchups. It's been fun to watch Mike try to balance, like, who's getting reps and, when and why. I mean, I think he's very well aware, all coaches have to be these days, of the need to get a lot of players into football games. Kids practice hard, they want to play. And if they're third on the depth chart, they can kind of feel lost there. They can feel like they're not going to get their time. And then if you've recruited over them with a transfer portal kid or something like that, it could be really frustrating. And trying to satiate the appetite for the ball is an interesting dilemma coaches find themselves in. Now, in big games against teams that are your equal, you're not really worried about who's repping what. You got your starters out there. That's the way it's got to be. But in games like this, you do have opportunities. And I thought last week was a good example of what they'll be doing. And that is in these blowout games or where there's opportunities for blowouts. And this is one of those games. There are many games on this schedule like that. Yep. You can play a ton of guys, and that's all it is. Those guys come off the field. They don't care that they were second fiddle, third fiddle, fourth fiddle. They just care that they got to play in a game. They got an opportunity to put their talents on film, and to show something to the coaches, to continue to try to climb. I know that's the phrase that Norvell uses, but it's true. And getting a lot of players, a lot of opportunities in games like this is really the desired impact of a second half where you're up by a lot. That's what you're trying to do.
And they should be able to do that for a lot of games this year. It was a novel, not totally novel if you've been around a little bit longer like me, or certainly you have for the 14 years in a row. But to see 6 blowouts last year, it was a strange place. It was a welcome place to be. But as we did pregame shows and postgame shows, it was, it went from 0 to 60. And this year, looking at the schedule before the season began, you thought, 6 or 7 is possible. Well, in a way, LSU was a rocking chair game. Certainly was in the fourth quarter.
Was, yeah.
Fourth quarter. It was not in doubt. The antithesis of last year in New Orleans, where you're, biting your teeth in the fourth quarter. Southern Miss, that's 2. Today we expect 3. I mean, You could be looking at in the 12-game schedule 8 or 9 of these where you're just kind of
God
thinking.
forbid we fool around and blow Clemson out, but that's a whole nother conversation.
It is, and we'll be here this time next week at 11 a.m. for that pregame show. Looking forward to that. I don't know if you're making the trip or not. I will be here for sure. But
yeah, I may end up making that trip, so we'll talk about it. But I'll certainly lob a call in, a video call in, or something like that to have some fun from around that stadium. And
you get from the media lot drinking a beer, please.
I should do it. Somebody in the chat asked who replaces Dent. We mentioned this earlier at the start of the pregame. Kevin Noles will get the start there, we think.
Yes, and Conrad Hussey will get rotated in. Last week was quite the indicator of the coaching staff's belief in Conrad that he came in before the rest of the reserves did. So, I think that's your 3-man rotation right now is Shyheim Brown, of course, starting, then Kevin Knowles and Conrad Hussey.
Conrad Hussey is an excitable young man who likes to make a play on the football, and so I love watching him. I like the risk takers in this defense. I want to see more of them. By the way, there you see it on your screen. Use the link in the chat and code FSU1 in order to get a warchant.com subscription. $1 for 2 months. What are we doing? Get signed up, everybody. Let's go. It's $1. You got it in your, couch cushions.
Does anybody have a change purse anymore? Does anybody out there have a change purse?
Over across from my the den area, I have a big smiley face where we put all our coins in. It's a giant smiley face, and I haven't looked inside of it in 2 years because it's huge. There may be thousands of dollars in there, Tom. I'm going to have to check at some point.
I'm going to guess there's at least one, which would get you 2 months worth of warchant.com. Yes.
Let's hope. $1. Let's go. Get in there, get your subscription, and it is just $1 for 2 months. That's a good deal. Other aspects of this game, one other thing. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate your contributions as well.
Pete also mailed us some gifts that Gene Williams is going to distribute. Just a thank you thing that ended up in Tallahassee this week. So thank you very much, Pete. You're a kind soul.
New cars?
Yes, that's right. You get a car.
Pete. Oh, that is incredible. I love it. No. Other aspects of this game where you want further affirmation that guys are in the right headspace. We mentioned Johnny Wilson. Let's keep it going. Let's keep Fitzgerald rolling. Let's go. I want to see another made kick out of him. The last one was right down the heart, looking good. Okay, keep this thing rolling. When he's good, he's really good. So
at what point, okay, so I'll pull this back up. It's up to 12 now. At what point do you actually wince? 18, 19?
20. I was always told by coaches 20 plus is a problem area to throw the football. I remember I had a coach who talked about this, and it's true. He said, somewhere between 20 to 25 miles per hour, you adjust your game plan significantly. So I never played quarterback, so I don't know. I mean, we've all thrown a football in the wind. We know that, but I've never thrown and run an offense as a quarterback, so I don't know where the number is where a player gets really gun shy. Obviously, it depends on arm strength. I'm sure Josh Allen isn't worried about 20-mile-per-hour winds, but most human beings are. So, I mean, I think that's a toughie. Jordan has a good arm. It's not a phenomenal arm. So I'd say we start getting anywhere around 20. It's problematic for this offense.
What did you think of the uniforms? And we're putting them up on the screen right now. So it's white helmet, garnet jersey, and white pants.
Love it.
Okay.
The only thing I would change is I think with that white helmet, you need to sprinkle some gold on that spear. Get me some gold on that spear, and we are riding. Now, I'll tell you this, I would also be fine with just our regular helmets with this combination. Though white pants are great. I've always loved them. I love when we wear white on white. We've done it numerous times in our history. But I think I do prefer the gold, our regular helmets.
Yeah, it feels a little Stanford. I was trying to think of the combination that it matches closest. A little Stanford. It'll be a little bit more purple than Stanford. Don't get me wrong, because we are a little on the purple side of the equation. But I like the white helmets. Even without the gold spear, I agree with you. There needs to be gold a little bit more presence when we do these uniforms.
Yeah, get the gold onto the on the spear there, man. You can fill in that white part of the spear with gold.
If you want to do the all white thing, then you can use the spear that you have right now. But I think the standard white helmet look should have a gold spear with it. But all in all, I'm in favor of this helmet. It's a lot better than the garnet matte helmet because of the thing it does where it transitions to black in the back.
Yeah,
Like the old
hideous in the
Jack
back. Yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
you.
If it was an all garnet helmet with a white spear with some gold, like a regular look like that, not matte,
Yeah.
I could maybe see some combinations. But this helmet I think is fantastic. I just think this is a weird combo, especially with the garnet cleats. I'm going to get even more detailed. I would go white cleats with this look. I don't know about you.
I want to see him running around, and I'll make a better impression. Just seeing that right there, it's kind of hard to know. I want to see how they look on the field. By the way, we have a question from Art about the field conditions. We talked about this at the outset of the show, but I'll reiterate now at the halfway point. And the weather's good, guys. It's not raining, and it looks good.
I appreciate the phonetic spelling of the Boston accent too. That's very good.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, I like where we're at right now. 12-mile-per-hour winds are not going to affect you. 64 degrees is beautiful. It's not raining. You should be fine. We start getting up around 20 miles per hour. I think you change your game plan a little bit in terms of the passing game. But I also think you can do whatever you want to do in this game. The only way Boston College was going to stay in this game was for it to be a deluge and windy. Then you have a predictable play call element to the game, and they can have 9 in the box, and they're not worried about you having to throw a wet football in the wind, so they could stack, and it would offset some of the physical disadvantages that they have because it becomes a numbers game. But honestly, if this stays as it is now for another 30 minutes and they kick off and these are your conditions, if it's 64 degrees of 12-mile-per-hour winds, guys, Florida State should light it up against this defense. The only element of Boston College that I saw in going back and watching those two games, Tom, that is better, that is appreciably better than what it was a year ago, is their offensive line. Mm-hmm. Now, their offensive line a year ago was the worst offensive line, arguably, and from a numbers standpoint, in the country. It was decimated by injury before the season even began. It got to a point a year ago where I felt bad for Hafley and Boston College. Like, nobody should have to go out there and play a physical game like football with one arm tied behind their back. That's not how you have any chance at all. And that's the situation they found themselves in a year ago.
We can appreciate that too. We've been there. Very recently, we've been there with the worst offensive line in Power 5 and maybe in Division I.
Yeah, and that's their situation a year ago. That's not their situation this year. Their best offensive lineman, which is one of the guys that got hurt a year ago, is back for them and playing very well. So he's a guard, by the way. So they've got some guys.
And they run gap with him too. They can run straight ahead. They like to pull him, get him out on the move. So basically, I think the key would be for linebackers, just follow him, and that's where the ball is going to go. But if you're not taking this assignment seriously and you're just hawking for a big play, you could get burned here for a couple of runs that go for, quote unquote explosive plays.
15, his legs are the only thing they have.
Right. Well, yeah, the quarterback, sure. But I think they've got they've got a bruising running back as well. It's not like they've got a 4-3 guy in the backfield that if you miss, he's one cut and he's gone. But I'm just saying you could be made to look bad on a 3rd and 7 where they're going to commit to the run and you give up 12 because you're cheating so hard as to one aspect of what they're doing. Same thing on the read option. That is their bread and butter are runs up the middle between the tackles and read option. If you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to get downhill, make a ton of plays at the line of scrimmage and get off the field. But we'll see. You got to be detail sound at least.
FSU fan 1993 writes, despite having to be at work at 3 a.m. several days in a row, where are you working, FSU fan? Sweet Jesus, 3 a.m. and 1:30 a.m. Saturday, Sunday last week, and the week before, I didn't miss a snap of both games. Well, I don't think you're saying that to brag. You're just pointing out how loyal and diehard you are of an FSU fan. So we salute you, and I would try to find another job that doesn't have me going in at 3 a.m. But maybe it's an incredible job. Maybe you're working overnights as an air traffic controller. I don't know. Yep. Brian writes, the players walked in with matching gold suits. Is this from Battle's End? They look sharp. I don't know, Brian, but I like to credit the Battle's End whenever possible. So if they, in fact, bought very sharp suits for all of the players, good on you, Battle's End. If not, let's all say good job, Battle's End, anyhow. Robert writes, more wind, mile per hour, or more Tate pass attempts. Well,
how about right now? How about this instant?
More Tate pass attempts if it's 5 miles per hour. Hey, give me that 5 miles per hour. Give me anything under 15 miles per hour. We're good to go. We are good to go.
John, I like this question from John. Does Ashlyn Barker get early burn?
Yes.
I said Hussey and I said Noles. He should as well. He should be in that rotation.
Loved him from the first day we went out to camp, and in fall camp, I was like, this guy is for real. This is a player. I did not have high expectations for him. As soon as I saw him, I loved his athleticism for his size. He's long. He's got good instincts. Jared writes, go Noles. Let's take care of business. Get home happy and healthy. Just want to be a full go for them damn Tigers. I'm with you, Jared. That's what this game is to me. I spend, too much time in games like this worrying about every player that kind of grabs their knee for half a second or twists their back over on the sideline. I'm like, no, we don't need any of that. Everybody, let's just be right for this upcoming game against Clemson. But I do want them to take care of business. I do want them to be focused, to show the maturity that they've shown so far. Hawaii, no, Brooklyn is not suiting up. No, he is not suited up. He is not in warmups.
So there's a question from John that I can actually use Ira's field reports. If you're a warchant.com member, you can hop over to the Tribal Council right now and get live on-site updates. As a reminder, in the chat right now is a message. We'll post it again. $1 for 2 months if you're on Warchant TV. Brand new special for you. $1 for 2 months. John asks, who backs up Darius if, God forbid, he goes down? Well, the guys taking snaps at center in pregame with Maurice Smith out are Darius, Casey Roddick, Dimitri Emanuel, and walk-on David Stickle. So that's interesting to me. A couple of those names are kind of newish.
In this game, John, you could start Stickle, and he would be fine. Stickle is a guy that we've watched play a ton in practice. He plays whenever they need somebody to fill in. He starts and plays really well. I think for a walk-on, he's a good player. You never want to start him. You don't want to be in a position where you have to start him because he's not that level of football player. But he is competent. He can snap. And in this matchup, he would not get you hurt.
Yeah, agreed. Given that Holy Cross was able to generate some push last week, I think David Stickle would play for Holy Cross.
Oh, he would start for Holy Cross, and he would kick ass. They would love him. They'd be like, this Stickle is a beast. That's what they'd be saying at Holy Cross.
How did we get this guy to Holy Cross? Oh, my God.
That's what they would be saying in the stands, yes.
So defensively today, is there any particular player you're looking for? Because this is not an inspiring Boston College offense. Now,
my linebackers got to play well today because it's a quarterback game. So they're going to run him, and they're going to try to create extra gaps. They're going to use scheme to try to get this kid out on the perimeter as well. I need my linebackers to be really good, and I need my defensive ends to be able to set the edge. This is not a stats game for the defensive ends. They are not going to accrue a bunch of sacks in this game, in my opinion, because I don't think Boston College is going to drop back and throw it. I think Boston College is going to roll their quarterback out. I think they're going to get him off platform. I think they're going to try to utilize his legs in every possible facet of their offense. It's the only hope they have. Yeah. They have to play a game that is a non-traditional game. They got to play an option game. They've got to get him out of the pocket. They got to let him throw on the run. They got to tell him to tuck it. If this first read is not there, he is not a quintessential pocket passer in any way, shape, or form. In fact, he's not good at dropping back and throwing the ball. They got to move him around a lot. And I think that's where your linebackers and your defensive ends come into play.
This is a kid last week against Holy Cross who overvalued who he was against their defense. He would hang in the pocket too long. He thought he could take angles that he could not, and he would get cut off. It's not that he's not quick. He is. He's quick, legitimately. But if you believe in yourself a little too much against this defense today, and you're not smart to either get rid of the ball or get down or break the pocket, you can get yourself hurt. So I'm interested to see if that was a Holy Cross thing where he thought he had more time than he did, or if he's just that, we'll use the Jack Nicklaus term, cocksure about himself. Because if that's the case, Florida State defensively probably going to lay a licking on this kid. It should be noted that last week against Southern Miss, there were no holds barred from this defense in terms of the scheme. They hit the quarterback early. Often they were called for a rough in the passer that I don't think was legitimate.
But they knew where he was going to be, Tom. That's the thing. This is different. This kid's going to be moving, and I don't think it's the same game plan. I think you got to just set the edge and make him throw from inside the pocket. I would have him throw the ball back there all day long because I think that we'll pick him off several times. I do.
I'll be interested. I think they can pin their ears back and still catch him if he tries to shake him. But we'll see. This is their first real test, obviously, after Northern Illinois and Holy Cross. So,
do we see a 60-plus yard field goal from Fitzmagic? That's from Dave. No.
There's not enough wind. And if you were going to see 60-plus, you would see it from old Etsu, Tyler Keltner.
He's got the better leg, guys. And also, I don't think – I mean, there would be no reason to kick a 60-yard field goal against Boston College. So I don't know why we'd be doing that. So we'll go from there. By the way, I don't think the starters – again, this is not a stats game, guys. You're not going to come away from this game going, oh, man, Verse had 3 sacks and 7 tackles, and that's just not that kind of game. He may have 7 tackles, but I don't think it's that kind of a game. I think that if you're halfway, you tell your quarterback, "Look, kid, I got some dudes over there, and you're 5'10", 190. I don't need you out here trying to be a hero. Get outside the pocket. We're one reading this thing. We don't have special receivers. We don't have a special tight end. We don't have special anything here at Boston College. The only thing special we have right now is the fact that you can run around, and I need you to be able to run around. And you ain't going to do that by taking big hits. So get outside the pocket. We one read this thing. If it's not there, live to fight another day. Run and get what you can and get down, or throw it into the cheap seats. And I think that's what you're going to see, which can be maddening, by the way. It is very frustrating when you play. We all know what it is to play a mobile quarterback. And when you do, sometimes just traditional football goes out the window and you're yelling at your TV, why can't we get this guy? Because everybody struggles against mobile quarterbacks. Everybody. I don't care who you are. You be the 86 Bears. It's hard because guys are off platform. The plays don't run in any sort of rhythmic way, and it can be frustrating.
Hawaii Noel asks, 4th and 12, do we go for it today? So they didn't quite go from 12 last week, but 4th and 10 from the 39. That's standard. I don't have any issue with that. They went for 4th and medium from either side of midfield, even Florida State's own territory. Hopefully they're not in that position a lot today. Shouldn't be. I think the defense for Southern Miss is better than Boston College, but if they are, probably they still do it.
I'm going to point something out. I don't care about the 4th down stuff. I'm fine with it. First of all, very aggressive, very forward thinking. The math on 4th down has changed tremendously over the years. The philosophy behind these decisions is a little bit deeper than a lot of people think. It's not some whimsical, oh, I just feel like doing this. Yeah. That said, what I do care about is why are we in 4th down again? Mm-hmm. And so we've got to get back to having success on 1st down. When you guys have heard me on the Jeff Cameron Show weekdays 1 to 3 p.m. on 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV, when you've listened to me gripe about a team that just won 66-13, or a team that didn't play a clean game, as I put it, against LSU despite stomping them in the second half, I've juxtaposed how pleased I was that our level of athlete is such that we could play our B-level game and still blow people out. We're just that good. But I've also said that you're going to play in a couple games where you have to bring your A game. You have to play well. We've yet to play 4 quarters of very good football. And part of the problem is we haven't exactly won 1st down at the percentage that you should. Not with this group. They haven't run it successfully on 1st down all that well. They have found themselves in 2nd and 3rd and long far too frequently. Can we win 1st down today, Tom? I'm going to be watching that closely because short of that, Florida State's able to win this game going away just because they do have bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah, that's where, again, to put a number to it, somebody put in the chat that on Prize Picks, Trey Benson's total was 89.5 over under, which is the same that you can find for player props in a sporting service like DK Sportsbook near you. I think there's no doubt he can go over. It's a matter of how many carries are you going to give him. And if you win on 1st down and you commit to it on 1st down and you don't run RPOs and Jordan decides to chuck it to the perimeter, then I think he most certainly will go over. Even though you're going to rotate in a lot of dudes today, this BC front 7 is not Boston College of 6-7 years ago. I remember when we were there in 2015, and that game was 14-0. It's the last time Florida State has had a shutout on the football field. 2015. That's a long time.
They scored on like the first play of the game, and then
Yeah, Everett Golson led the touchdown drive, opening drive. We were walking into the stadium by Bill Belichick's car that he illegally parked and nobody said a word about.
One of my favorite moments in our careers is you and me watching Bill Belichick park illegally at the stadium, Alumni Stadium, get out of his car in what is in essence a handicap spot, get up, look around, looking disheveled as always, and walk straight into the underneath. And nobody said a word to Bill Belichick. It was hilarious.
And as we're getting to our seats in the upper end zone, Everett completes the drive. We end up scoring a defensive touchdown later, and it was 14-0. Well, that was because Boston College had a good defense. You know? This is not that Boston College team. So you're right. I think you should, if you do not have success today on first and second down, what gives is the question. There's no other question, because that's not a good sign. You should absolutely be able to surge that defensive line most every play.
Tom, and I'll just say this. I don't want to be an alarmist. I mean, there's no reason for that, but when you're looking for, continued growth and excellence, these are the things you can look at. You got to win first down more than we're winning first down. It's a fair expectation against this defensive line. I see we've got our man Ira Schoffel from there at Alumni Stadium. He's walking the halls, it appears.
Yes, and we will bring him in just a second. A well wish to Director Ben Spicer, who works with you guys on Coach Speak. He's checking out in the chat from the hospital. He's got a loved one who's been in the hospital since last week. He will be here for the post-game show behind the scenes, but Ben, we are wishing you very well.
Absolutely, we are. Ben does a great job for us. Let's go to Ira. Let's talk to him. There he is. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, man. I stepped away from the main press box to not annoy too many people. So, yeah, I'm here in the hallway.
I think you should walk into the middle of that press conference, stand boldly, and have a loud conversation with me as if you're an old person at Publix.
I looked the part, so, yeah, I should. Maybe next time.
All right, first things first. 3 starters out for sure. We already know that. It's been announced. We talked about those 3 starters. It's been reported that also what was the 4th one, Tom, that I'm forgetting?
Brock Glenn as a reserve.
Brock Glenn did not. Yeah. Okay, we didn't see him in warmups. Is that right, Ira?
Yeah, he didn't make the trip. We believe he's dealing with a hand injury that he got at the end of the game last week. So, but yeah, Akeem Dent is not starting. So Kevin Noles was taking the first team reps as we expected back there at safety with Shaheem Brown. And then, Maurice Smith at center is also not starting, which kind of expected, didn't start last week. So Darius Washington is starting there. And then with Robert Scott not available, it'll be Bless Harris at left tackle. So it'll basically be the same offensive line that you saw last week.
Next biggest question that everybody will want to know, and it's been positive so far this morning. I've been monitoring it, but you are there. So tell us, beautiful day in Boston is what it looks like. Is that right?
Definitely feels like a normal day in Boston. You would never know that there was a hurricane out in the Atlantic if we hadn't heard all the reports about it all week. It's a little breezy, but not too crazy. Watching some of the punts in pregame warmups, it looked like maybe those got affected a little bit. You can see the flag, like the American flag is kind of in the corner where there's some open access to it. It looks like it'll pick up wind pretty well. But the flags inside the stadium on the goalpost don't look like they're moving that much at all. This stadium's kind of like sunken below the stands. So I don't think wind's going to be a huge problem, and it's been dry so far. So it looks so far so good.
I'll just tell you, I'm jealous as all hell. If it's 65 degrees with a 9 mile per hour wind, you're in heaven, sir. Go for a stroll. Go for a walk in the second half.
It's not bad at all. In fact, I talked to a few FSU fans last night who are staying for the weekend to see the Patriots and Dolphins tomorrow. It sounds like the weather is going to be incredible for that game as well.
Anything else to report since you're there? I mean, we already got the injury news. You've given us the weather. Anything else to report about Florida State's time in BC? Just looks like a business trip here.
Yeah, I think it definitely has a business trip feel to it. There were a few players coming off the buses this morning. I tweeted a video, a few players wearing masks. We had heard talk that maybe there's a little bit of a bug going through the team over the last week or two. So, but I don't think it's going to have a major effect on anything. I don't see any clusters of positions affected or anything like that. So we'll have to see how that goes. But even the guys that I saw with masks coming off the buses, in a confined space, were not wearing them when they were on the field. So, maybe there might have been one guy on the field during warm-ups with one, but for the most part, I think during the games, they feel like it'll be fine. So, that's the only other thing to probably watch. And then, as you guys said, Brock Glenn not being available, that leaves you with 3 scholarship quarterbacks, which isn't, the worst thing in the world. If you lost 3 quarterbacks, you were down to your 4th quarterback, things wouldn't be going well anyway. But they only do have 3 scholarship quarterbacks available.
Very quickly, I do want to ask you this. One of the players that I thought looked sluggish last week, and we couldn't speculate, but I just want to know, did he look good in warmups? Johnny Wilson looking good in warmups?
Yeah, he did. He looks great. Keon Coleman looks great in warmups. Trey Benson looks great in warmups. All those guys look good to go. And again, it's funny. When you've been in the stadium as many times as we have now, you think back to some of the memories. The 2017 game where they definitely didn't quit. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about thinking that they quit in that game. There's been some good memories and some bad memories in the stadium. But I think this looks like a team that could have a good memory here. One minor note from the BC standpoint, Patrick Garwo, the running back who's been banged up early this season, I don't think he's in uniform today. So I think most of the running by BC's offense is probably going to be by that dual threat quarterback, Castellanos.
Brother, go enjoy the weather and the game. Safe travels. We'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks.
And the clam chowder in the press box, Jeff. Don't forget
bum.
Clam chowder in the press box.
Get out of here before I get angry. Get out. Cut him off. Get him out of here. I love clam chowder. I love the city of Boston. I have a blast every time I go up there. And now I'm sitting here jealous. He's got a jacket on, Tom. He's got a freaking jacket on.
Yeah, because he needs it.
Right outside my door is 90-degree weather right here, right? And humidity.
It was 74 around 9 o'clock this morning, so you had like a minute. You get up early enough that you had several hours if you wanted to go.
It was beautiful this morning when I walked out. Yeah, I had my cup of joe as I'm wont to do. And you know what I thought about, Tom, while I was having said cup of joe? I thought about how you screwed me and didn't give me my coffee yesterday. And the devastation in my heart as I just had some run-of-the-mill brand instead of DeLuna, knowing that the DeLuna was sitting in the car waiting on me and probably still is. And devastation.
Yeah, it was intentional. You know what? It was sorry about that. But you know what? We got carried away talking about golf and other things, and then you got in your car and you took off. So that's
I do that after the show. I do leave. $1 for 2 months. Warchant.com. $1 for 2 months. There you go, man. What are we doing? Go use the link in the chat and code FSU1.
It's pretty simple. And it's pretty inexpensive. 2 months, man. That's going to get you through perhaps an 8-0 start. There you go.
Oh, right. Yeah. $1 to watch 8-0. You know what? I'm sorry. I just got distracted. I'm laughing at people in general, just people in general. I would say, by the way, that you're not going to do better than that. $1. Let's go.
The link is in the chat once again. We'll promote it in the post-game show as well, which is coming up 10 to 15 minutes after the game is over. Probably sooner. If it's like the Southern Miss game last week, we started in the fourth quarter. We were like, all right, enough. But now I would think with this weather report, look, Ira gave you the confirmation. It's still reasonable temperature-wise, wind-wise.
More than
that number was 24.5 this morning, sir.
I know. I saw that. I said, if this duck's below 24, I'm all over this all day long. I may be anyhow.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest. When I saw it drop 2 points in the last 24 hours, my question was, who's out? Because the weather report's been the same. It's going to be nasty since Wednesday.
You know what I like to do, Tom, while we're sitting here? I like to. Now that total's moving on up. We now got it at 26, and the over-under has moved to 47.5.
Mm-hmm.
The reports are clearly coming in Boston that things are nice. Things have worked out well. The weather is good.
Yeah.
Oddly, I've got somebody pulling into my driveway while we're talking. So if my dog goes berserk, there you go.
Are you getting a delivery? Is that DeLuna? Is that Ed? Did he drive?
I need her to stay asleep. She's a vicious guard dog, or she fancies herself a vicious guard dog. And the second anybody even looks at our house, it becomes, what are you doing, sir? Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
All right. So it's not that great of a slate today. In the last 10 minutes,
Terrible
just
slate.
One quick pivot to the national scene. Is there another game outside of Florida, Tennessee that you are excited to watch? Like, not because you put money down on it or potato chips, but because you're legitimately interested to see two teams play each other head to head.
I think so. I can't remember. I had my slate all mapped out here that I was excited about.
Not the slate. Like legitimately, like if the answer is no, that's fine. It's kind of a.
I legitimately want to watch the LSU Mississippi State game to see what LSU is against that team. It could be decent. I also of the other games, Georgia has sleptwalked through their schedule so far. They're taking on South Carolina today. They're huge favorites, and I think it's right to assume that Georgia just hasn't really cared to play in these first two games. They've kind of just gone through the motions. But anytime you have a new quarterback, and we're talking about teams that we may end up facing in the playoff, I do want to see if you're willing to play. I mean, is it because you didn't care? Or maybe you're not altogether right yet? I will be watching that a little bit closer today. Now, South Carolina's not good enough to win the game, but I just want to see how Georgia plays.
Fair enough. It hit me, and I'm playoff or bust guy, so it shouldn't. But when you said looking at potential playoff opponents, I just what a different feeling it is on September the 16th of 2023, man. That's different.
North Carolina should take care of Minnesota. It's a 7-point game. Is the spread there? I'm kind of interested in that game. You said it. The slate's terrible. Tennessee, Florida is really the only other game that I'm remotely excited to watch. I mean, it's not like I'm going to lock it in for Syracuse, Purdue, buddy. So, yeah. I mean, it's just not a lot there.
All right. Last opportunity here to revise your final score prediction. I know it's locked forever on the Warchant report. We can't go back in and edit that. But now that the weather is as reported, and it's still, it's 12, so that means it'll gust to 20 or 25. We were thinking about sustained at 25 and gusts of 40 yesterday at this time. 38
totally changes. It does totally change your prediction. It can't not. My prediction was 38-7 based on inclement weather. I will take Florida State to score in the 50s. I'll take them 51-10, 51-10. They get some cheap scores late with our backups in, something like that. I'll go 51-10 Florida State. If the weather stays like this, Tom, they're going to do whatever they want.
Yeah, I'm going up. I said 28-0, which now looks ridiculous. But if the weather was bad, it wouldn't look ridiculous. So I'm going to go 45-0. I'm going to go 45-0.
Get that shutout, baby.
I got to stick with the spike baseball. I'm claiming that. If they do it, I'm claiming the prediction there.
Jay, by the way, you're right. Before we sign off, you are correct. West Virginia Pitt is a game I do want to watch. Two evenly matched teams.
I would say that Boston College might today do something along the lines of that annoying thing where they get to 3rd and 3 a bunch and they run for a yard and it's 4th and 2 and then they zone read their way to a first down and more time comes off the clock. And if they chew up somewhere between, north of 26, 27 minutes off the clock, I think that holds Florida State back to only score into the 40s, buddy. But if they're unable to extend drives beyond 3 plays, you're right. This could get really, really ugly.
It could be hideous, and I hope it is. I mean, I hope our backups get to have a lot of fun. I mean, it would be great to sit back and watch a team beat somebody 66-7 or something like that. I mean, I'm all for it. You don't have to pity anybody on the revenge tour. You just pace that ass and get on home and give a lot of kids a lot of opportunities to play. I got to get the grill fired up, Tom. We're going to sign off here 3 minutes early. That's what we're going to do.
No problem. The injuries are not new. It's Roberts. For those just tuning in, Maurice Smith, Robert Scott, Akeem Dent. Nobody else in terms of the starters looks to be out, and the wind ain't blowing that hard. There's your summary.
13 miles per hour is not that big a deal. As we edge towards 20, it would be a problem. It would change the game in terms of strategy, in terms of scheme, in terms of what you were trying to accomplish. So just monitor that, guys. If it stays down there between 10 and 14 miles per hour, we're fine. We start getting up towards 20, 25, we got a problem. Not a problem as in you're going to lose, a problem as in it takes away an element of your offensive attack. So that's all that is. Urban pays for Tinder, sign on game day. Well done. Well done. For Tom Lang, I'm Jeff Cameron. Thanks for watching Warchant Game Day. It's $1. It's $1 to have a subscription right now. Stop fooling around. Look in this chat. We gave you the link right there. It's $1. Go get signed up. Go Noles. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Matthew. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, all of you. Be good, everybody.